In Vogue, singer Dawn Robinson recently revealed how she's been living out of her car for the past 3 years. But it's not as bad as you may think. It's actually a step forward in the right direction. Let's explain how.
My aim is to inspire and to let people know that you're capable of anything. No matter what the odds are against you, you are capable of anything. Past almost 3 years, I have been living in my car. I said it. Oh my God, it's out.
Now, see, a lot of you may be wondering, well, how did she end up in a car? I mean, she had hit records like, "No, you're never gonna get it. Not this time, my love." Yeah, she had all those hit records, making all that money. But how did she end up in her car, not having enough money? It's another one of those examples of how record labels and people that you don't really know trying to take advantage of you by being signed to them, right? Same thing with Angie Stone. There's countless others of people, other artists out there, other celebrities that are unfortunately caught up in not knowing the business side of music. And that's what we want to put on display so you guys are better educated in how to be independent and on your own when it comes to making music.
And in the interim, I was living with my parents in Vegas. And that was wonderful until it wasn't. I love my mom, but she became very angry. And a lot of her anger she was taking out on me, and I was her target all the time. And I was like, I can't deal with this. Like, I respect her too much. I didn't understand it. I still don't. And it hurt me. So I was just trying to figure it out, but I couldn't. You can't read someone else's mind. You can't figure them out. They got to figure themselves out. So I was like, let me get out of here.
So this is a classic example of how your environment can do damage to you. And you want to recognize this early so that you get out of that environment. No matter where you are in your head or how strong you are in your head, your environment, if it's negative, will have a negative influence on you. So the number one tip I always recommend, especially new people starting out that might not understand this, is to get away from negativity. Get away from a bad environment as fast as you can, especially if your goals are higher.
And I was sleeping in my car for maybe about a month in Vegas. And then the guy that was co-managing me at the time was living in LA. And he said, you need to come back to LA. And he said that I could stay with him. And so I was like, okay. But you have a dog, I have a dog. And he's like, I don't have a lot of room, but I'll make room for you. And then when I got to his place, he actually didn't have room for me. So it turned into, okay, well, I'm going to put you in a hotel for the night. And that one night turned into 8 months. Oh my God, you guys. Sometimes I think, you guys, people want to trap you and keep you in a situation where you're vulnerable and depending on them. And I wasn't the one.
Now, later on, I'm going to give you some tips on how to be independent and on your own so you don't have to depend on anybody as you pursue your music.
So I didn't regret anything. I was just scared that night. That first night was scary. But then as I got to know what to do in my car and how to do it, like how to cover my windows and, you don't talk to certain people. You're careful of telling people that you're alone, as a woman, especially, and that I'm a celebrity. I don't just divulge that to people. If you don't know who I am, I'm not telling you that part. I felt free. That was a sense of freedom that I had. This is not like, oh my God, poor Dawn. She's living in her car and it's terrible. Oh, what was me? It's not that. It's not, like I said, I'm learning about who I am. I'm learning myself as a person, as a woman. We say that we can't do certain things before we even know we're capable.
So moving out of a bad environment was actually something that I had to do also early on in starting and growing our company, SFR Beats. I actually had a 3-bedroom house, new house, very nice, straight out of college. But unfortunately, I got myself into a situation where everything and everyone else around me was very draining of my energy. So I had to cut all that off, and I also needed to save up money so I can then turn around and put that back into our business. So I moved out of that 3-bedroom, very nice house, to a small 1-bedroom apartment. And I did that for 1 year as I got my act together, as I refreshed and rebooted from all of that negative energy that unfortunately, I put myself in because I can only blame myself, right? So I can relate to this as a music producer, going through the same things that the In Vogue singer is going through, and I'm sure many of you may be going through the same thing. Sacrifice is necessary. You must remove yourself out of environment, and it may seem like you're going backwards, but you're actually rebooting. You're rebooting everything so you can now go forward. Another tip I'd like to share on how to be independent and have an independent mindset, especially if you've been depending on other people in the past, is to get your goals written down on a piece of paper or anything, on notes on your phone, probably your phone, not a piece of paper, you know what I'm saying, this, you know. And what you want to do is envision yourself at that goal and then work your way backwards. Kind of like picturing yourself at the top of a staircase, and then you work your way backwards from the top of that staircase to the bottom, and to try to visualize the steps that you see yourself taking to get there. All right. So if you get this written down and then you just start tackling each step one at a time, you can do it. Like, for example, it may be moving out of your parents' house, like she did. You may need to cut back. You may need to sleep in your car for a little bit. You may need to get a hotel for a little bit. You may need to take a vacation or stay with a friend for a little bit. Whatever you have to do to take that first step. And then as you do that, you may work a job. You may need to save a little bit of money each week to stack up your bread in order to move into a more stable environment. And also, you may need to limit your travel expenses. For example, if you travel and you want to do gigs in other areas, you may not be able to afford the plane ticket, but you can at least afford to drive, right? If you get a rental car or use an Uber, Uber's probably expensive. Get a rental car, drive, sleep in your car overnight instead of getting a hotel. But understand what you need to do to sleep in your car overnight. Understand and see how the weather's going to be while you're traveling. Know how to protect yourself. All those little things. You want to write that down so you don't really have to keep it in your head. There's a lot of stuff to keep in your head. So get everything written down step by step. That's going to help you reach your goal. All right. The secret, the real secret the real secret I can say for us, for myself, I'll speak for myself, is breaking down bigger goals into small baby steps, smaller goals that I can say, okay, I can do this, right? And I know that I have a good chance of achieving something greater if I just focus on this little thing right here first and finish that. All right, boom, that's done. On to the next step. Okay, boom, that's done. And year after year of doing this, you will find yourself a whole lot farther than you were when you first started. Also, I'll add a tip on sacrifice, right? Say you have enough money for an apartment, but whoever you're living with or staying with, it's not right for you. So you decide to move into your car. Well, you're saving money at the same time. And now that money that you otherwise would have put into an apartment, you can put towards your beats, you can put toward your marketing, you can put towards your brand and your imaging and your performance skill. All that can now be used to invest in the goal. And what's the goal? To be a successful independent artist. So we have other tips and tricks that you can look at Music Help. So you go to sfrbeats.com/music-help, and you'll see all the advice that we have from people that are doing it, that are successful, that are actually experiencing what they are teaching. They're not just sitting in a classroom reading from a textbook and giving you homework. No, not that kind of a teacher. We're talking about a teacher who has experienced it and who has lived it. Those resources are there on our blog for free. So you want to soak up all that information because what they're saying obviously works. All right. So, I hope you are able to put time aside to invest into your mind, and then you can invest into your recording and then making your music. And it all goes full circle, y'all. You do all that, watch, your music career will take off.